So we can now navigate to different components using React Router. Let's scaffold out a few of the views we'll be working with. First, we don't really want to be working with all of our routing logic sitting inside of app.jsx. We can clean up this file a whole bunch and centralize all of our routing logic by pulling it to a separate file. So inside of our source folder up here, I'm going to create a new file called routes.jsx. And then we're going to flip back over and we're going to copy paste out our routes object. And we're also going to pull out the React Router requires at the top. Okay, so now inside of routes we have our React Router require and our routes definition. We don't really want to be just making use of routes in here. Instead, we want to export it from this file. So we'll replace var routes with module.exports. Cool. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save app.jsx as well. So if we were to run our app now in the browser, we would probably get a bunch of errors because our routes is trying to grab the components like hello, child1, and child2, which are not defined inside of this file here. Before we fix those references, we should figure out how we want to start with the most basic component of our app, the header. So let's take a glance at our mockup again. I'm going to pull it on. Here we go. So if we look at our mockup here, each of our 3 pages has some sort of interchangeable body. On the first one, we've got a list of the categories. On the second one, we have a list of images, and then we have an image detail on the third. The header is consistent in each of these 3 screens. So the header at the top is really static content, whereas the content in the body is much more dynamic. It changes based on the screen that we're looking at. So let's think back to how our hello component inside of this demo is working right now. I'm going to flip back over to app.jsx and we'll look at hello right here. I'm going to add inside of the JSX tag just some text. I'm going to say I am a header. Imagine what would happen now. Whenever we render this hello component, we would always see some text at the top that says I am a header, and then we would have some dynamic content beneath it right here, something that would change based on the route. What I'm getting at here is that we'll probably need some central component, which we might call main, which will be rendered with the home route and always show a header and some content. Let's create that component now in a new folder called components. So we'll make components, and then inside of it, I'm going to make main.jsx. And then inside of here, we'll make some of our boilerplate. So we'll say var react, require react, and then module.exports, react.create class, and we'll define our render function. And inside of here, we'll say return div, and the content will be I am a header, and beneath it we'll show this.props.children. Now let's go back to app real quick and delete all of our unused code here. So we're not going to be making use of the hello component or child1 or child2 anymore. So I'm going to delete all 3 of them. Cool. Next, we need to make sure that we're actually showing our routes here. So we're going to import our router. So we'll say var routes require, and then it's in the same directory right here. So we'll just say /routes. And we'll make sure that we're rendering capital routes so they match up, like so. All right, finally, we're going to update our routes.jsx to make use of this new main component that we just defined. So inside of here, we'll import main, which is inside of the components folder, main. And so we don't have any of these hello, child1, or child2 components anymore. So I'm going to delete the child1 and child2, and I'm going to replace hello with main. Cool. So we now have 3 files, one which defines main, the main component, one which defines our routes, and one which just takes our routes and renders them to the DOM. Let's go ahead and refresh our browser and make sure that we navigate back to just localhost 8000. And we should see in here, React is not defined. Got a little bit of a typo in here. So over in routes.jsx, whenever we have our JSX tags in here, like router right here, we still need to make sure that we import React. So at the top we'll write var react equals require React like so. So I'm going to save. We get our refresh, and there we go. So now we have I am a header. Let's go ahead and continue inside the next section.